What a grey day! As I start filming this video, you might notice the atrocious lighting, the wonders of filming in autumn, and for that I apologise. This week it is time for some tough love. Are you ready for Stern Chris? I'm not sure you've met Stern Chris before. I'm going to be talking about the 3 most common mindset mistakes that I see people making, the 3 biggest ways that we can sabotage what's going on in here. I'm going to be generalising by saying things like we often do this, we often do that. But I really want you to be thinking, do you do this? Are you guilty of making these mindset mistakes? And some of it might be quite hard to hear, but it's stuff that I've picked up from years of experience of coaching and supporting people with their mindset and their resilience. And sometimes we need to hear this stuff before we can truly move on. So as we get into it, you'll be forgiven for thinking, all right, Chris, so what now? What do I do now if they are the mistakes that I'm making? And make sure you stick around for the end, because during you will notice lots of little video cards, and I'll link to those in the description bar below as well. And I will also make sure that I can do all that I can to give you as much support as I can with what you might want to think about developing next, depending on where you are with your mindset. So for that very reason, if you are not already in the club, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, because there are so many more videos on my channel that can support you with your mindset and your resilience. So let's get into it and see what these mistakes are, shall we? We are doing this, and guess what? We are doing it now. Let's talk about believing that you can't change. Now, no offense intended whenever you are watching this, but the chances are that you have had decades of experiences, decades that have made you who you are in your own unique way. They've gone to forming your value system, your belief system, so that wherever you find yourself at this moment in time in your life, you know in the click of a finger what is right, what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. And you might also be forgiven for thinking that you cannot change, that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's the no offense part again. But I am not going to forgive you of that, because remember, this is tough love time. This is Stern Chris. So we go through those decades that I mentioned, repeating the same cycles, repeating the same mistakes, and expecting different results. A bit like that Einstein quote that apparently wasn't Einstein that said it, about the definition of insanity. This massive mistake that we make in our mindset and how we sabotage it is a key element of a fixed mindset, and it is damaging. I've got a really detailed video on the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, and I will link to that, and I'll put the link in the description bar below. But this element of, if we have a fixed mindset, we immediately think that we cannot change, so there's no point putting the effort in. We beat ourselves up for making the same mistakes time and time again. Whenever we face challenges, and let's face it, there are a lot of challenges at the minute, then we find that really tough, and then we run a mile when anyone tries to offer us some feedback. If any of this is sounding familiar, then it could be that you are making this massive mindset mistake of believing that you can't change. Then there's another massive mindset pitfall that so many of us fall into, in thinking that we are not good enough. There are so many people going through life at this very minute thinking and feeling this. This can show up for us in so many different ways, and essentially a lot of it comes down to this little nagging voice in here who tells us that we are going to fail, who tells us that we are stupid, who tells us that we are not good enough. Any of this sounding familiar? That nagging little voice that creeps in and tells us that we are not good enough. What's yours called? I talk about mine a lot in these videos. Mine is called Christopher, because Christopher is what I'm called when I am in trouble. Christopher Robert if I am in huge trouble, then the middle name Big Guns come out. It's a good time to quickly mention again, if you are not already subscribed, get subscribed on the channel, because I have so many videos where I talk about this element of thinking that we are not good enough. But essentially, this element of imposter syndrome is something that has been not talked about for so long. And personally, I think it's brilliant that it is becoming more and more talked about, because then we can deal with it, we can take action to manage it. And if that's a new term for you, imposter syndrome, then all it is a psychological pattern in which we doubt our skills, our talents, our accomplishments, and we have this persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. So we can have all the rubber stamps, all the qualifications, all the accreditations, and we still fear that one day we're going to get discovered for the fake that we are, except we're not. It doesn't just come down to imposter syndrome. There can be a huge amount of things going on here that essentially allow our inner critic to make us think that we're not good enough. Then there's the huge mindset mistake that we can make of just refusing to let go. Now this one can eat away at our mindset, and it can be really damaging for ourselves and for the relationships that we have around us. We can hang on to stuff for far too long and let it fester, and that can manifest itself in lots of different ways. It can look really different for each of us. Some of us might really struggle when it comes to having those challenging conversations that we know we need to have. We give up our rights left, right and centre sometimes because of those conversations. Or it can be refusing to let go of those emotions and those feelings that we experience during the shock of a big change. Or perhaps you are refusing to let go of the what if syndrome. What if this happens? What if that happens? And those negative thoughts and emotions that we can often experience. Refusing to let go has to be one of the biggest ways that we can sabotage our mindset, because so many of us spend so long living in the past about what has happened, or worrying about the future of what might happen, that it stops us being in the here and the now. I promised you right at the start, if you're now thinking, brilliant Chris, so what do I do now to help myself? Then seriously, check out some of these other videos, and there are so many more on the channel. So if you haven't already, do subscribe and hit that bell so you know when I'm back for your mindset and your resilience. Let me know any thoughts and comments and questions you have, and I will see you soon. Over and out for now. Bye.